I'm Brandon.
And I'm Jesse.
We're Cannabis School. Having cannabis-infused conversations
with everyday people,
cannabis companies,
celebrities,
and your mom.
Welcome to the Sesh. So this is a fun hobby of mine. I don't even know if it's a hobby. Yeah, you can call it a hobby. It's a time waster. It's my time. Fuck you. I'll spend it the way I want. But video games. I enjoy video games and entertainment in general. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm just having a really tough time with any of it. It's just there's no entertainment.
Have you found... I haven't found really any great new TV shows, any new, like, hey, this movie came out and it was fantastic. Like, you know, I've not been super impressed with anything lately. Everything that's been good has been old. It's been, like, my guilty pleasure still is Top Gear. That's what I'm...
The old Top Gear.
That's what I watch, yeah.
Not the American Top Gear.
Oh, no,
that
fuck
stuff is
that.
awful.
Like... And I thought about that. I'm like, that's just Americans going, oh, we're trying to be cool. Come look at our cars. And I'm like, but all the American cars that they test and show in Top Gear are all the great ones that we have here. And they're all pure shit. So, you know.
Yeah. Well, and plus they don't sound as cool because they're not British.
I know. Yep. It's just not the same.
No.
They're just not the same.
The way they deliver the lines, everything. And then you have the American guys. Yeah, here we go. We got a Corvette. And you're just like...
or a Dodge. Like all these trucks, like all these cars here. And I'm like...
What is that new Corvette? What the newest one? The last one?
I don't like...
I hate it. It always like gets you fooled for a second. You're like, what is that?
That's the reason why I don't like it. I've never liked Corvette. I've never thought they were...
No.
The only Corvettes that I thought were like the prettiest versions are in the 60s. Those are the prettiest
Stingray?
Corvette that I think they've made, but I've still never wanted or cared for them.
Dude, that Corvette, so my wife's grandfather owned one of those.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
It was an orangish color. The same color as his
dune buggy.
Yeah, his dune buggy. That one is the one that he had this thing, and he never drove it. Because,
that's crazy.
Well, dude, one, it's a crazy...
Was it because it was a classic?
Dude, the exhausts, they didn't go out the back. They ran along the sides.
And went it right out in front of the rear tires?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are cool.
And
was it because it was a classic that he didn't drive it?
No. It just... He would drive it for a little while, go out like on Sunday drives, and then it was in the shop.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks.
And it had a 454 in it.
Yeah. They have big motors, but...
I mean, dude, and that thing's impressive. The other thing that sucked about that thing is when you get into it, it's like you're trying to do a cannonball.
Yeah.
You have to jump into your seat like this. And then the great part is you better have a real good base to get out of the car or else you will burn your fucking leg if you're wearing shorts.
Touching the
exhaust
thing. Yep.
And there was like it was a family party, and he was taking everybody out for a ride to show it, which he wasn't going fast. He's old as shit. So he's like, and just a little bit, he gets back, and one of his daughters was in there, and she gets out, and this is like July, fucking seared her calf.
Yep. Oh,
it's like, why would anybody help this car?
The funny thing is both of my kids have a little mark on the inside of one of their ankles from either a scooter or a motorcycle.
Or branding. That's what they do to hold their kids. They go, hold on, let me see their ankle. Yep, that's mine.
Yeah. No, it's just...
Get in the truck.
It's like you teach them and you're like, don't hop off on that side. Don't hop off on that side. And yet it takes one time and then they learn. They're like, I will not hop off on that side. And I'm like, I've told you every time, but it's just, you know, sometimes that happens and it's crazy. It sucks. But it's like an instant move your leg. Yeah, it's horrible.
I took us off course. Okay, so go back. So with entertainment right now, so like I was talking about video games. So the state of video games right now is totally crazy. And it's a good thing, but it's also going to be like, it's like taking all these people who love to go to buffets and they eat there all the time. And then all of a sudden they just shut them down.
Well, or even
all of them.
even like you were saying, GTA 6, they're talking about raising base price to $100 for the game.
Yeah, because you
And
get some economists
But
that are
as
like,
that happens, if that game goes to 100, every normal game will be based at 100.
well, and that's the great part too, because what it will do right now, games are $75 with tax.
Oh yeah, it's already fucking expensive.
It's
for
super
a game.
expensive for a game. So now I'm way more careful about getting a game. Like, I'll get it on sale. I'll get it. It's been a couple years since it launched. Like, I don't need a launch game unless I really want to play it. And my mistake this last one was Baldur's Gate, because I love RPGs, but man, I can't spend that amount of time into a game.
Yeah. Well, the worst part for me, that was like I'd never bought a release game or one like that. And then I had heard about, God, what was it? It wasn't Dark Souls 3, but I did buy Dark Souls 3 when it was still newer, because someone was like, oh, it's an amazing game, you should get it. And I got it. And the worst part about games when you buy them like that on PlayStation or anything, you can't return them. So if you play it for 5 minutes and go, I fucking hate this.
That's what's really cool about like some of the programs that they have on PlayStation and Xbox, because then you can just go, I pay for a subscription all year
for those,
and I can use it to play this game and to see if I like it. It lets you play it for like, I think it's 90 minutes of gameplay. It's a good chunk of time, and you get to kind of see how it is, but you don't have to pay for it. Like,
there was one other game,
worth it.
And I can't think of what it was, but it literally just launched, and it was like, it was supposed to be such an amazing game, and I didn't look up anything about the actual game. I just had read and heard from everyone that it was supposed to be this amazing game.
What was that, Elden Ring?
No, it wasn't that one. It was some other one, and I downloaded it. Like, I bought it when it was released, and it was $65 at the time. I opened it, and I was like, this is the dumbest. I would never play this. I don't like this.
Yeah.
And it was like, I can't return it. I can't do anything with this. But, and then when it's digital, it's not like I can go sell the disc or take it to GameStop or something. So I'm just like, well, now I'm out that, and I just have this shitty game that I'll never play that, is... A lot of other people might like it, but I guess now I've just got it. So,
well, it's like Sid Meier's, right? Like, there's a lot of people who love Sid Meier's. Like, they just had a new one drop.
Is that a game?
Yeah, it's a game. It's a world building game. Like, you can start out as like
Sims.
No. Like, you'll start out as, you can pick a place in time, and you can go ancient Sumeria or even older than that, and then you start to grow, and then you're cultivating, and you're
like Civilization and stuff.
Yeah, that's Civilization, right? Sid Meier's Civilization.
Oh,
so I know, I'm sorry, I was saying Sid Meier because it just all over the marketing, but now it's so detailed. Like, it goes up to today, and so it's like everything changes and all that stuff. I can't get into those games. People pay $70, $100, $150 for all the extra DLC, no problem. They're like, take my money. I can't spend that kind of money on it, and now I'm even more picky with games because I just feel like they don't have the depth that they used to.
Yeah, well, the stories aren't as good. The gameplay's not as interesting. Like, even going back to PS3 or PS2 games, there was so much better games and like gameplay and stuff. Yeah, they were maybe older, shitty graphics, but that was at the time what was out. So I look back and it's like, we talk about Splinter Cell and even
that game,
Medal of Honor, and all these other games that used to be really good games.
Yeah.
And now it's like the games that come out, I'm like, what is this garbage?
It's all focused on multiplayer. That's why I don't like Fortnite. That's why I don't like any of those games.
Campaign multiplayer like used to be in the great times. It's like...
It's just got-em shooters.
Yeah, like the Fortnite style and that, where I'm like, I don't...
See, dude, that's another game. I'm big into military shooters, and Brandon and I had played Ghost Recon. You guys know we talked about that so much, and I play Insurgency. I stopped playing Insurgency just recently just because I'm over the top rank. You can't get the little rank emblems anymore.
You did take a very short break.
Yeah, I took it was like a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, I have no desire because I got Arma Reforger, and that game is insanely hard, and I don't know what I'm doing. And but what I'm interested in is the element of it. And last night, like, you jumped off and I was getting off and Steph's like, don't worry, I got a bunch of stuff to do. She's like, go ahead and play. And I'm like, I haven't done that in a while. So I played that game and I didn't want to play it long, so I kept watching, kept looking at my watch. Well, because that game is easy to get.
Because the other night you were up till 3 something playing.
Well, because other games I won't play that long. I will be like, okay, that's why I like playing like Batman or Final Fantasy later on, because then I can only play so much of it, and then my brain's like, yeah, we're good. Let's just go to bed. I'm like, all right. But that game, because there's nothing except you, and then you got to find people.
Yeah, well, and it's crazy because there's no like tactical map on there. You literally pull up a physical map and it doesn't show a marker of you or anything. It's just like
they have an update that's going to show that. You can see everybody else on there. So they're little packages and they'll have their name on it. But what I was learning about that game is that if you want to communicate radio with somebody else, you have to set up radio points. You have to set communication towers. You have to set up
the frequencies and stuff.
Yeah, you can change the frequencies.
I did see that on the radios. I was like, what the crap?
Yeah, you can create your own security frequency and everybody can talk on that if you have a good team. And then on top of that, like, if you don't have that, you have to be within like 20 feet.
A very short distance to hear a radio frequency or pick it up.
You'll only hear the voices. And so you also have to be careful, because when you're walking up on a place that's being held by the enemy, you have to be quiet. And you can whisper. They can hear it, but they don't know where it's coming from. But if you're talking,
they'll hear it.
They know where it's coming from. But last night I was playing it and there was this random dude and I don't know what the fuck's going on. And the guy's like, hey, Reaper, or you're on our Discord, right? And I'm like, no. I'm not even on Discord, dude. And he's like, oh, I got a guy in my team that has Reaper in his name. He's like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know, dude. I'm brand new to this game. He's like, oh, hold on. He pulls out his map. And you see the guy pull out his map. He's looking at it. And then he puts it away and he goes, all right, we're going this way. And we're just following. And we walked forever.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he's like, okay, around this corner, we should see somebody. And they pull up my scope, and there's one dude. You can just see this head. And I'm like, oh, shit. I was like, okay, I got guys over here and here. And because we're so far away, they can't hear us.
Yeah.
Because we don't have radio comms.
Set up or anything.
They can't intercept the radio comms.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. But the funny thing is, I was shooting at dudes. And like when you shoot dudes, usually like in Call of Duty, there's like a big dramatic fall. This one, you just drop.
Yep.
Like a real guy.
Oh, yeah, because I had shot, and I was like, man, I missed. And then a second later, it was like, boom. And I was like, oh, no, it's like a real bullet. It had to travel, hit him, and then he dropped. Like, I was like, holy shit.
Because in the other games, it's like they're going like 4 times the speed of real bullets.
Yeah. It's like, boo, boo, boo. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's dead across there, but it took time to get to him. It's exactly what happened, but then I got a little too excited. And me and this guy Ghost, all I had watched this video and it was like, if you hear shots coming towards you, drop to the ground.
Yep.
And so I was like, okay. So I dropped to the ground and you just hear, snap, snap. And I'm like, oh shit. And then you're looking through these blades of grass and your eyes get blurry because you're squinting. That's why they're trying to
see through the grass.
And it's just like, and the bullet's going over, so it's making you nervous. And all of a sudden, I'm shooting at these guys, and they start shooting at me. This guy is Ghost on there, and he just goes, hold on, Reaper. And he shoots one of the guys, and I get up, and I run over, and I see 2 guys running, and I shoot one, and I shoot the other. And he goes, oh, wait a minute. I think that's one of our guys. And I'm like, no. He goes, dude, I think you shot at one of our guys. I'm like, I wouldn't have done that. I clearly saw that guy. I would have seen his name marker, and I get over to him. And the guy's on the ground. And the cool thing is you can check him for injuries. Yeah. So I check him for injuries, and I'm like, dude, he's messed up. And he's like, oh, I got to get a saline in. And I'm like, hold on, we got to get a bandage. And
oh, my God, it was your guy.
Yeah, it totally was. And then you know what, dude? It's not like you heal them and they just get up. You have to wait for them to get better.
What?
So the guy's slowly getting better. Like you remember like in Punch Out, you had to sit there between matches. And
I don't know if I played that.
But anyways, you go through this, and then all of a sudden the guy, like, he wakes up. His gun is dropped, so he has to pick up his gun, and he gets up, and the character's just like laying there 1 second, and then he rolls over to his face, and then he's up, like he teleported, and he's like, "What the fuck?"
That's nuts.
Because you don't see the person. What you see is, whoa, we get the whoa.
And your screen like
because
goes
your
darker
pulse
and
is
stuff,
dropping.
But
you can't hear or see anything really because you're blacking out. And you can black out totally, but your screen hasn't left. So you're just like, okay, maybe they'll bring me back. We brought the guy back, and you're injured. After that point, you're injured. You go to a hospital, you can get fixed up, but you're injured. And that's how deep this game goes, and that's why I could disappear forever. And I killed like 4 people. I got in this car, the last part I played, I got in this car, and I'm like, yeah, this time. Because we were going around this corner, I'm like, where are we going? And the guy's like, oh, I know this really good place. And I'm like, hey, shouldn't we avoid the main roads? And he's like, no, it's cool. I know a shortcut. We get around this corner. And you see the dudes like in the front.
Oh, wow.
Blood's like flipping all over. And I'm like, get out of the car. And I'm dead. And then I hear over the voices, oh, shit. Oh, that was our guys. Hey, guys, we're really sorry about that.
Oh, that's hilarious. You got killed by your own team.
Yeah, you got to really pay attention to what you're shooting at. And
how are you supposed to know? Markers?
By the uniform.
By the color of their clothes.
So you really have to be careful. And
wow,
it's pretty good. It's really fun. It's super hard to know what the fuck to do.
That's a crazy sound. I've only played a little bit in it still. That's like
this
holy
guy.
Shit.
I met this guy in the game, and he was like, "Yeah, I've been playing for about 2 weeks now." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Well, I bought it in December, but it was such a janky game at that time."
And, yeah.
He's like, so I just waited, and he goes, and they're still having troubles because they didn't anticipate it to grow this big, and so it's kind of like Helldivers, but
oh yeah, I mean we haven't touched that in ages.
It just got so insanely, just overwhelmingly anxiety inducing. That I was just like, but it worked. But it was fun for while it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't bad.
They reached the point of, what was it, the bots or something were so fucking hard, and it would just come in crazy ass waves. But then it seemed like we almost defeated everything they had in the game for a bit, and it was like, wait, what the hell? Like,
oh, now
are they not going to give
like,
us more?
Now it's super insane.
We haven't gone back on.
Oh man, there's people.
What do you guys play? What are you playing lately? What's your style of games that you guys play? Or do you even play games? What do you like to do in your free time when you're, not working? Comment below. Let us know what you actually like to spend your time doing. Maybe it's just sitting, smoking weed, listening to Brandon and Jesse's soothing sounds of the Sabbath.
I mean, the way he was going, I was almost like one of those radio show announcers, kind of like Casey Kasem. And we're going to be able to listen to the top hits. Just pay attention over here. Now we got Bono, U2.
Wow. Bono,
right.
U2.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be on my playlist.
I'm not a U2 fan. There was this girl at the dispensary, the bud tender. Real nice girl. Couldn't tell if she was being fake, though. Cause
oh my god, there was I went to
way she was smiling, and I'm just like, "Are you okay? Did you have lemon juice?"
I went to some place with my kids, and we were at it was a drive-through, and I was ordering at the speaker thing, and the lady sounded like so over the top, like happy and chipper and like, oh my god, welcome, hi. And then when we get up to the window, she talks like that, and every time her voice stops, her face goes literally just like, hi, oh my god. And I was like, what in the world is this? Like,
faking it because she's up there. They
so
told
fake
her to
seeming, but it was just so really clear when you saw her face. And I was like, well, that was very interesting.
Dude, I'd love to fuck with... If I worked at the drive-thru, I would fuck with people all the time. I'd be like...
Talking different accents.
Oh,
and shit.
totally.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's all I would do. Like, I mean, you just have like a really horrible like
sales.
Latin accent.
Yeah, I did phone sales.
Come to the window.
And I would do accents all the time because I got bored. And that job, it wasn't my fast. It was this little rinky-dink one in this shitty call center. But it was literally a script. So I had it memorized. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to see if I can do this in different accents. And so then the floor manager had the highest record for the day. And I beat him. And so then I was like, well, I wonder if I could do it in a British accent and beat him. So I did that. And then the next day I was like, I wonder if I could do it in an Indian accent. I didn't beat him, but I still got like more than probably anyone else on the floor. But it was just like these shits and giggles of like, hey, yeah, I'm just here. Like, fuck it. Why not?
Well, it'd be so much fun to do it at the drive-thru because they hear your voice and then they get up there and they're like, what the fuck? And
Right?
you just go to your regular voice going, yeah, it's going to be 573.
Right.
And they're like...
Because the other one, they never saw me. It was all over the phone, so it didn't matter.
And then when you give them the food, you go, have a good day. Right? And they're like, you son of a...
Thank you, come in.
Right? And it just slides close. That'd be awesome. That'd be so much fun to do just because...
I know.
You know what? That would be fun for the person, too, because then they can have a good laugh. Unless they're super sensitive and they're like, that's not very nice. Yeah. Well.
I'm really surprised in people, maybe disappointed. I went to pick up food at a place and walked in, and the guy had just a ton of orders he was dealing with.
Yeah.
Tons of stuff. And I'm standing there, and it's maybe 10, 15 seconds. Maybe. Like, it's no time at all. He's like, oh, man, I'm so sorry. I'll be with you in just a minute. And I'm like, oh, it's fine.
Take your time.
And it's literally maybe another 20 seconds as he unloads what's in his hands. And then he turns to me, he's like, oh, thanks for your patience. Like, I appreciate that. I was like, no, it's not a big deal. You got a shit ton of stuff there. Like,
yeah, but
don't even worry about it. And he's like, and at the end, he was like, no, I truly appreciate that. I'm like, how sad is that is what people are thankful for at their job when it's dealing with another human? Is like, how shitty do we have to be as people that's the thankfulness that we're there? Like, how many bad interactions do they have with someone of like, hurry up, hey, where's my food? Or like, or whatever it is, the interaction, it's always like negative or,
Yeah, no, I that's a good observation because I've thought that same thing. And I think what it is that there's before, like, waiters weren't treated. I mean, you had a couple assholes here and there, but mostly anybody who helps you treated them very kindly.
Oh, yeah, because it's a service they're doing for you.
But at the same time, like, there's this notion that came out, the customer's always right.
Yeah.
Right. And that could have worked in a department store. But when it comes to like food service or any type of like actual manual service, you can't talk to people that way or ever be that way to them.
No.
But there is this whole entitlement. It's the same shit where there is a fucking crosswalk. Guess where you cross? The crosswalk. Not anywhere that you fucking please. There's laws against
there's
it.
There's jaywalking.
But a lot of cops don't bust people for jaywalking.
Yeah.
Because it's annoying to them. I get it. But at the same time, there's this entitlement. Like, if you go into a parking lot, it's customary, giant vehicle. Why don't you go through? It's going to be a lot quicker for you to go through. And I know you're trying to get to a parking spot. No problem. Go through. What is it? Fucking people just walk through. Moving around here. It's like fucking Disneyland or something. Like, I walk where I want. And just,
I know.
Like, fuck these people.
It's so weird. Well, it's
It's just inconsiderate, rude assholes.
That. Yeah, because even going to the grocery store, and I'm in the grocery store, and I'm like, you're walking one way, and then you see someone else, and they literally intentionally, like, go in front of you, and then they're, like, not even going that way. They, like, I don't think many people put a lot of thought into the way they walk in grocery stores, and I think about it, and I'm like, you probably drive the very similar way. That you're not very much seeming like you're paying attention. You are very distracted because people, I notice they're walking and they're walking out, but their head's looking a whole different way. And I'm like, you're going to walk into someone. You're an adult. You should have a like situational awareness enough to go, hey, I'm walking out into another thing. It's like people at a stop sign and I see them. I'm always curious with this because I think about it. I'm like, flow of traffic would be so much better. But I noticed that this is how stop signs work here. It's a four-way stop. I'm coming up to the stop sign. There's already a car stopped there. I'm still 30, 40, 50 feet away, slowing down as I get there. They're still stopped there. I pull up to stop. They're still stopped there. They then go because now I'm stopped. And I'm like, what the fuck is this traffic? Like, are you not that aware? You can go, hey, look, I can use my eyes. Hey, they're slowing down. Yep, I can see they're slowing down. Well, I'm going this direction. I've got so much time that I can make the drive move that I'm doing and have tons of time. I'm not going to have to floor it. I don't have to punch it. I can just accelerate at a normal rate. Like, there's all these things, and I look at it, I'm like, most people don't live life aware. I feel like they live it so subconsciously that they're not almost there.
Well, it's manners. Manners have been kind of tossed aside because, we don't need to be told how to act in society because, that's just a way to control us and to keep us docile, whatever that means.
But
it's
excuse me, pardon me, you know, all the time. If I walk in front of someone at the store, I'm like going to grab something in front, I'm like, oh, pardon me, excuse me, because they're not paying attention. They're just standing there. But I'm letting them know, hey, I'm coming to grab this. I'm not trying to just, because I notice that all the time if I'm there grabbing something, there's so many people that will literally just step right in front of me. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well, and it's the same thing. Like, I mean, you want to see a real good example of why manners have kind of fallen off is just watch these fat little tubby kids with a ton of fucking snacks and the shirt's too small and their bellies hanging out. And it's not because, they can't afford to clothe the kid, is the kid's growing too fucking fast and they don't have time to go do it because they're trying to keep up everything else. And those kids act like entitled shits in the store. The first thing I do is I look at the parent, and the parent just whatever, what do you want me to do? Like,
I know. I'm so surprised at how many people, because I'll be walking through a store and I'm like, man, there was a perfect parenting opportunity for that parent, but they're so oblivious to, or just don't care. Like, they're just so numb to.
Well, it's not even just numb, dude. It's this.
I think they're so used to it.
They're being taught to be entitled. They've been taught to be entitled. They've been indoctrinated to be entitled. The customer's always right. Guess what? No, you're not. Yeah. No, you're not. Sometimes the food is fucked up.
Right? Yeah.
Nope. Sometimes the food gets fucked up, and that's just the law's average.
If you think you're always right, you have a problem.
No, you're probably wrong.
Yeah. That's the same thing. Yeah. But it's like, oh my goodness. But everyone's wrong. No one's ever always right.
Dude, that's why I try to, it's not that I just try to be really good to people, so I have to remove that. It hasn't always been that way. But
I understand. I haven't either.
Right.
I'm way more appreciative now and understanding and like trying to see the situation, go like, hey, what is all this other stuff that I don't see? Like, I have no idea what's going on in this person's life right now.
Well, dude, like, I had a good parenting moment. My son, Phoenix, he had the mouthwash in his hand and was going to pour it, and it slipped out of his hand, and it poured all over the ground. And my wife and I are standing there, and my wife was just like, oh shit, what's Jesse going to do? And I paused because I was just taking it in. I'm like, cool. You don't need to tell him, why'd you do that? You don't need to yell at him. Just offer to help him cleaning it up. And I was like, hey, buddy, this happens. Don't worry about it. Let's get some paper towels, get this cleaned up. And my wife was just like, whoa, right? But it's not like, hey, cool, how I'm looking at myself. It's being aware. It's being aware. Do I really need to be upset that I'm not able to order my meal fucking, Panda Express? I have to wait like 3 or 4 minutes to get up to the line to take 3 or 4 minutes. It would take you hours to cook all that shit. And you're going to fucking bitch about it.
But then I look at it and I'm like, how many other people are in line in front of me? How many people are behind the counter there? You can see how much work they're physically doing. It's not like they're sitting there in the corner, they're all texting, laughing, giggling. No, they're all working.
Yeah.
So I can understand that, hey, as a person, I can understand there's only so much you can do in so much time. And they're doing what they can. So instead of going in and going... And sometimes it's hard because life is frustrating. We just came through a lot of traffic. We came from a shitty job, whatever. But at the end of the day, the person, that human you're interacting with.
Well, depending on where you're at. If it's Taco Bell, there's no people.
Yeah, right? But like, that is just like they're another person just doing their job, and maybe they've had a really long day of 8 hours or 10 hours or whoever, dealing with other assholes coming through, getting mad at them or frustrated because their work is really busy and they're doing their job, but the workplace is really busy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry that my job is really busy. Would you like to switch me spots? Because I'd love to be in your position instead of mine. Like,
yeah, it's facts, dude. Facts. And but the thing is like, you know, the other I look at is not one of these jobs out there is not important. Like, there are jobs there that can be replaced. Data entry jobs. I feel bad for those guys.
I take that back. No, like we've talked about, there are jobs that are unimportant. It's like all the SaaS companies that are going away that are not actually needed.
Well, the positions that they had there, like, even look at the social media landscape. Like, you had project managers that weren't project managers, and they would do like a day in the life of working over at Google, and you're like, what the fuck do you do all day? And they make like killer money too, and you're like, fuck you. Like, but it was a small dream that was going to go away, and it did. And they all lost their jobs, and they're like, where do I go? And that's another thing. It's this false sense of achievement that I think is given to those individuals, because now they, like a good friend of ours, I won't say her name, but you know, she went through this time where she was like, I'm worth this. She got a job finally. She says, she goes, I don't know how I did. She interviewed so many times. Yeah. And she ended up having to go for way less than what she expected. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah. And I was saying to her, I was like, yeah, some companies set up unrealistic, thank you.
Expectations.
Yeah, big time. And you get out there, it's like, that should be a big red flag. If a company's like giving you quick raises and stuff, it's like, ooh, shit, like maybe I need to be looking for another job.
Oh, yeah. You know what's crazy?
They're going out.
So Tesla gives bonuses, but then the bonus you can't actually use. You don't get all the money. If you take it as a physical cash bonus, they just break that into 52 checks. And so you just get like another $30 per check. Or you can put it all in stocks, which you don't get if you leave before the year. Yeah, or you can take it in PTO, but you can only use 20 hours of it in PTO. So you can't actually use all of it. And so you actually have to diversify it in all of those basically to do it. Or like keep it all in stock or something.
I would keep it in stock, wait for a year and sell.
And I was like, oh, that's such a weird... But honestly... They seem to take out the human side, like don't have anything at your desk that makes you, don't have any pictures, anything, don't bring in blankets, don't bring in like, they don't want anything because they're a very interesting company, I would think.
They're a very efficient company on many things that they want to be able to do. And the reason why, it's just because they're in the technological space. You have an autistic guy who is leading the company. He didn't found the company. He's leading the company. And they've done great things underneath his leadership, but he is disconnected. He knows that. It's not a hard thing for him to know that, but it's hard for other people when you don't understand it and you think,
I'm
he's
sure
a
to work
dick.
Underneath him, yeah.
Right, or he's just impossible. Like, no, he's not being personal with you.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. No, there's no personality in that company.
Dude, he was saying on the news, it was hilarious. They got an interview with him, and the best part about it, one of these reporters was just like, well, you know, we need to be making sure that you're keeping all your checks and balances to make sure that you're being appropriate and not being counterfeit and not being deceitful. And he goes, no, and I'm going to be he's like, this has been extremely transparent. You can go to the website on X. We post every single day what we find. That's it. I'm being completely transparent. But I understand that all of you are going to crawl up my orifices, and that's totally fine. It'll be like going to a proctology exam. The only thing I'm going to say to you guys is you better camp out there for a while because I ain't going anywhere. And I was like, literally, he just said to him in the nicest way, you guys can go up my ass and hang out. I don't care. And it was like that, the way he talked, I'm like, people are like, oh, he's you don't understand autism. There's no bullshit in their mind. They don't think in allegories or in metaphors. It's straight. So he can't be deceitful even if he wanted to. because he doesn't understand what that means. He just knows.
You don't think any autistic person understands deceit?
No. They can learn. They can learn, but it's over time.
He's definitely old, so he could definitely have learned it over time.
Yeah, but he's very childlike in many of his sense because it's his way.
Yeah.
It's his way. You know, Steve Jobs was very much like that too. It's my way, not your way.
Was he? Do you know if he was autistic?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I think we all have autistic traits in one way or another, and autism is just a brand.
Well, it's yeah.
But there's just a specialized mind. Like with my son, like when one of the teachers told him at school that, because it was awesome, because my son goes, they asked, one of the teachers asked my son, so what does your dad do all day? He goes, I don't know. He smokes pot a lot, though. And they're all, what? And he goes, weed. He smokes weed. And they're like, no, you're not. And my sister-in-law works there as an aide, and she's like, oh, Nick, she's like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, why are you worried about it?
Yeah.
And they were telling him, they're like, there's no way your dad does that because it's bad for you. You can die from it. All this nonsense, right?
Yeah. That's fear in him of.
Yeah. And he comes back home, and I just came out of the garage.
Smoke. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, Dad, I want to talk to you. And I'm like, sure. And he starts telling me what they said. And I said, hey, no problem. But I was like, they just learned something a long time ago that isn't that way. And I said, let me teach you about it. And I went through it, and he just absorbed it all. And then one of the teachers said something, I'm sure. And he just said, he goes, yeah, I explained to him that you talk about medical cannabis.
Yeah. And
that nobody's ever died from it. And that's a lie.
Yep. That's true.
And so that was that's where I think mind control, like a psyop done on the U.S. population. There's a crazy thing I'll share with you on it, and it's not from a conspiracy website. It's legit, like a dude who studied economics and a lot of these things, and U.S. aid is one of the things, and it is a CIA front to distribute funds. And there's a cool, crazy thing. But if you think about it, if you train a society to be consumers,
like ours,
then they won't question as much.
No, we don't question much at all, actually. No. I feel like
not until recently you're seeing more questions come to light.
There are definitely some, now starting to question.
And it's good. It's good.
It's about time, yeah.
But the same time, a lot of it comes down to just really wanting to connect with other people, because you realize that life is a lot easier when you got a lot of friends.
Yeah. Well, and you have people surrounding you that you like genuinely connect with, because the thing that sucks is being surrounded by people and feeling totally alone, or feeling lonely when you're surrounded by people, because there is no connection, because there's no actual true deep bonding or, understanding of who each other are.
Dude.
And that can be one of the loneliest places to be, is surrounded and yet alone.
Yeah, no better example than a few nights ago, I was invited to speak to this group of young adults, and young adults being from like 19 to like 27. And this ecclesiastical leader locally had set it up and had reached out to Kim for 12 Shapes, and she's like, I'm in Mexico, but I have a bunch of coaches that are close by, and she put it out to all of us, and she's like, who wants to do it? And nobody raised their hand. And I just was like, and before I could even answer, Kim's like, hey, Jesse, you're close to him. You should do it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, no problem, I'll do it. And then when I went to hear these young people talking about how confused they are to just talk to one another, which I can understand, because they didn't learn a lot of the things that I had to learn, you had to learn growing up, which was, if you want something, you have to talk to somebody.
Well, because everyone, even in this, like, it sucks, but our kids' generations and ones you talk to, everyone grew up with a cell phone. Everyone grew up attached to that cell phone. And so that became the easiest way to talk, was texting.
Yeah.
So between that or a keyboard, like, unless it's done with your fingers, they're like, I don't know how to talk to someone.
Yeah, and you would think that, like, paralinguistics and things like that would, people are like, oh, it's cool, you just text it. But when the power goes out or when shit goes crazy,
Yeah.
you need to be able to talk to people, and a lot of people don't understand that. And when I was talking to these kids, I mean, there were 60 of them there, and they all took that 12 shapes quiz. And then after that one, I did a whole like breakout session with them, and it was crazy. Like I could see from physical features like who they were, and I knew them from their face. I'm like, oh, you're this, and this is this and this, and you do these things, right? And they just like I snatched their soul out. But why it was so crazy? Because if I was a kid, they wouldn't have somebody like that talking to them.
Well, you have to imagine what the world would be like for all those people. Because if you couldn't communicate in memes or texting, I mean, if there's a massive EMP, whatever, all electricity went out, well, you guys wouldn't be listening to this because this shit won't work.
No.
But like...
But you can see us at the...
If all I know how to do is communicate in memes or like HRU.
You know what?
All these questions, you're like...
And then thousands of years in the future, they're finding these paintings of like emojis.
Yeah, and you're like, what the fuck?
Oh, this must have been a sophisticated language that they use.
Yeah, for reals. But then, like, how would they communicate? Because they literally, well, I just send memes back and forth to my friends.
Or, dude, the language that is used, like, it always, like, every generation, it gets, like, way more complex.
They read these things. What the hell is a Skibbity Ohio Riz? I don't know. It must have been this really...
You know, for me...
Maybe it's an ancient spell.
When I heard Skibbity...
Oh, my God.
You know where I went to because of where I heard that a long time ago?
No idea.
Adam Sandler. Skibbity-doo. He would say stuff like that. And I'm like...
And Waterboy.
Yeah, yeah.
Or,
oh, yeah, bro.
No, not Waterboy.
Oh, it was like Billy
Madison. Yeah.
Skibbity-doo.
Yeah, that one.
And that's the thing. It's like, when my daughter said that, she goes, oh, that's Skibbity Toilet.
Right?
What the fuck is a Skibbity? And I'm like, I know what Skibbity-doo is. And she's like...
Right? She's like, what? What are you talking about, Dad?
What are you talking about? And she's... And all these other things like Drippy and Riz.
Yeah.
But bricked up. Like, for me, bricked up means, like, I think that I've got, like, a massive turd blocked up.
And you can't shit.
Yeah, but it's not, right? It's a hard-on. And my son was, like, my 15-year-old, so one of my twins, he's like, yeah, that guy totally thought that girl thought he was bricked up. And I'm like, he couldn't take a shit? My son Nick goes, no. Yeah, like, just obvious autistic kid. And he goes, no. And I'm like, no, and he goes, no, that's stupid if you think it was that. And I'm like, okay, well, what is it? He goes, it's a hard-on. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And what's cool, too, is that I don't filter my son. I don't say, hey, watch your mouth. Like, when he gets aggressive with his language, I'm like, okay, you need to take it down.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he'll be like, I don't know what the fuck you want me to do. And I'm like, hey,
yeah,
you will watch your mouth.
Right.
Speak with respect. But it's... I don't even know where I was going with that.
That's okay. I'm the same way. Like... And I realized because growing up, my parents were like, there's no swearing allowed. Unless my dad was mad and really pissed, in which case he was allowed to curse some, but nothing past that, no one else swore. And if you did, you probably got... Well, I did get my ass paddled when I did swear.
Dude, your upbringing sounds like a comedy show. If we put a comedy spin on it...
Oh, my God. It could be hilarious if we put a comedy spin on it.
Yeah, but you have to be rated R because this kid's always being beat up named Curtis. It's like, no, it's only on Max. It's only on Max.
It is on Max.
Right? You just like, everybody hates Curtis, and right?
It's just called The Elders.
The elders.
Elders.
The elders. And you're just like, is this going to be about elderly people? Like, no.
Yeah.
And like, you're, this person is the mother. She's like always constantly like,
all of my friends were terrified of my mom growing up.
Yeah.
Everyone. And I was like, what? Even when I was 21, I was out knocking doors in Kentucky with my buddy Aaron, and he knew me since I was 4. We grew up together, and we were going out there, and he was like, yeah, I've always been afraid of your mom. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? She's like 100 pounds with her army boots on and soaking wet. Like, and he was like, oh no, she was just always seemed so angry and so like controlling. And I'm like, oh, I mean, everything had to be done a specific way and, her way. But that's just...
Whoa, sorry about that.
I feel like lots of people had parents that were
Well, I mean, considering who her mom was, I mean,
Narcissistic.
yeah, she was a spitting image when it came to that. Like, you know, if you had to do this her way, and it was, and I only imagine like your mom, like if there was like some commercial that came on with the bikini on and she would step in front of the TV.
She would hold up a blanket
Yeah.
over the TV. The
Over there, and
movies
then-
that they bought weren't edited by the editing company here locally. My mom would literally stand up with a blanket and cover the TV during like a bikini scene or someone, you know, in their bra and panties or something.
And then after that, get a warm washcloth, wash out your eyes.
Right.
Get that sight out of you.
And then they bought this DVD player for downstairs where the projector was that would edit out swear words out
Oh,
of
yeah.
a movie.
What was that one? What was it
when
called?
it would say sex, it would mute it and put hugs. So it would have a subtitle. Yeah, so it would have a subtitle for that one like sentence that it bleeped out, and it would put a different sentence in that area. So it'd be like, oh, we just had the best hugs, or, you know, whatever, we're going to get some really nasty hugs, whatever it was. And so we started laughing about that because we knew what it was saying, but we're just like, okay, yeah. So we'd start making jokes about that, and it would do that for like swear words and that too. I'm like, this is the weirdest shit.
That's some Mystery Science Theater 3000 shit. You ever seen that show?
No.
Oh my God, I got to show you some clips. But no, dude, that made me laugh. Like that. Oh my God,
it's crazy. I had a weird childhood when I was downstairs playing pool with the girl that I was dating when I was like probably 18. And my mom sent down Thomas, who's maybe 12 or 13, to hang out in the basement so that I wasn't alone in the basement with a girl. And that's what would happen is my mom would send down another sibling, or if we were watching a movie, she'd come down and be like, you have to be under separate blankets. You can't be under the same blanket. Like, they were just very kind of, you know, household. So,
well, it's so funny because the more... and it's just like any person, right? The more oppression you put onto them, eventually they're going to snap. And they're going to be like complete... Like the old standby around here in Utah is like the bishop's daughter. She's always a whore.
Yeah, she's always like... really all...
Yeah, she's always giving it up. She's down for whatever.
Okay. Yeah, it's the bishop's daughter.
You're like, you're the bishop's daughter? You're like, yeah. And like, I have a friend, I've had several friends that became bishops, and one of them, Eric, I was like, man, how's it going being bishop? He goes, oh, it's good. He's like, but I got the stereotypical bishop's daughter, and I'm like, oh, a little rambunctious. He goes, sleeping with every guy she meets, rambunctious? Yeah, rambunctious. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like,
I have a niece like that supposedly, and it scares the shit out of me because I'm like, you
repeat history.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. And I'm like, he's too young to be a grandpa right now. Like, I'm sure it's probably pretty close to around the time my dad was, because Curtis was super young when he had his first. So
yeah, and mom was the mom was very young.
Yeah, so it was like, oh my gosh,
dude, it's, and I don't worry about with my kid. You know, a lot of that dealing with is I've got a partner that we work on our marriage together openly, and we work together as a team, and we give them a really good example as far as like what a marriage can be like. Even when we have disagreements, they can see that, and it's few and far between because we know that it's just people. And that we're going to act. I mean, I'm more open about it now. If I start being a dick and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, something's up in my mind, I'm going to check my blood sugar because maybe it's my blood sugar. It could be low. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm nitpicking. I'll leave you alone. And I go away. And I would never do that before. And it's really, I've seen a good interaction because my kids are more open with me now because of that. And they're talking more about their personal lives. Like, you know, yeah, my oldest was, you know, having sex with this girl. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? He got to 17. I'm pretty proud of him.
Yeah.
Because I was younger than that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I started fooling around, but I didn't lose my virginity till I was 18. So it was just, I don't know.
Well, I mean, but, you know, that's kind of a tale as old as time, right? You know, I mean, young love, and shit happens and you're feeling stuff and you're like, this feels pretty awesome. You want to do this all the time? Like, we should do it all the time.
Why aren't we doing this all the time?
Yeah, I don't even know why we eat.
Yeah, right?
We should just get protein shakes. Yep. You imagine that?
Coffee, protein shakes, and we stay awake all day.
Coffee and protein shakes. That sounds like the perfect mix of just farting, right? Imagine that. You're mid-stroke.
I don't want to.
And you're all sweaty. Your ass cheeks clap from the fart. But you guys are like, this feels so amazing. I don't want to stop. But that's when you're young.
Teenage years.
Totally.
That's a new excitement of, what's this new toy?
But they think really deeply about their relationships that they have with people now. Like my daughter, this kid just kind of wanted to be her boyfriend and kind of assert himself. And she's so nice. And she's like, how do I tell him to go away? And I'm like, you just tell him, like, hey, I like you. You're an awesome guy, but I don't want to be that way with you. I'm too young for that. And that's just not my thing, but we can be cool friends. I'm cool with that. And that kid was really hurt. And I'm like,
yeah, they will be.
He's 12. It's okay.
So Addie has a friend, and I guess that friend liked another friend of theirs months and months and months ago. But then it said, oh, I like someone else now. And so Addie was like, knew that one of these friends liked someone else. So she was like, oh. And now those two are dating. And the other friend that used to like that one is upset and got upset at Addie. Like, oh, you hurt me because you connected them. And I bought a necklace for her 3 months ago and was going to give it to them on Valentine's Day because I still like them. Well, you didn't tell me that. And now and so she was like, I'm not going to be friends with you or talk to you because you hurt me. And I don't want to. And I was like, what? I'm like, honey, she's 12.
You know what though? Adults do that too.
It's true.
They're just
and I'm
really...
like, some children are children, and some adults are children.
Well, it's not. It's just a lack of understanding. Like your daughter's very self-aware of what's going on, and she doesn't understand why. I mean, I guarantee she has those moments where she's like, "Why is that chick like? That's the dumbest thing ever." Like I didn't do anything, and it is. It's this weird, stupid thing that people do all the time. They're like, oh, you associated this with that. Like why I laughed was I saw this guy was talking about how he took this woman on a date, and he was having a good time and all that stuff. And the woman goes, just so you know, I don't give it up on the first date.
Okay.
And he was like, I was all pissed off. I'm like, what the hell? First of all, I was pissed off. I'm like, why are you just assuming I'm thinking we're hooking up?
Yeah.
But while we're at it, why don't you give it up on the first date? And she just goes, well, see, I got a lot going on in my life right now. And, I don't want to like give it up. And then all of a sudden next day you don't call me. You don't want to be around me no more. So, that's why I don't give it up on the first date. And he goes, all right. And then the check came really fast. And the check was $190. And he looked at it and he said, well, he looked at what he ate and he only had cheese sticks and 2 beers.
And she spent, wow.
So he's like, all right, well, I'll give you 40. That'll cover more than mine and tip.
Yeah.
And she goes, what the fuck?
He's like, I don't give it up on the first date.
He goes, well, you got to understand that I don't pay on the first date. Because, I don't want you thinking about all I do is just pay for things.
Right.
And, how am I going to feel? I'm going to feel really bad if I pay for all this, whether then you never talk to me again. Because I got a lot going on in my life right now.
Yeah.
Like he threw it right back at her. And it was such a perfect thing. And that's what people don't realize is they always think about themselves like, I'm hurt because you were associated with this. And it's like,
oh, yeah.
And my smart ass, if I was Addie, I would have been like, you know what? You're right. And I'm pretty sure you're upset about, that pain you have in your ass because when I took a shit, it was so big, it actually kind of tore my asshole open. So I apologize about that too. They go, what the fuck? And like, yeah, that's how ridiculous this connection is.
Yeah. I was just like...
But adults do that more.
Yeah. Then that's what I told her. I was like, honey, some children are children and some adults are children. Because some people, I was like, they don't know how to emotionally regulate, and they're frustrated or hurt, and they're taking it on you because, well, it's easier than looking at themselves and going, I never told anyone. I never actually went and talked to this person, and now I'm frustrated because they're with someone else, and now I need to retaliate because otherwise I'm looking at it and going, hey, you didn't do anything. And most times we would much rather blame someone else than we would look at our own ego and go, hey, did you fuck up? What's your role in this? What did you actually do?
Well, if they don't admit, I mean, if it's clear as day that, I mean, I don't even consider that childish. I just consider that stupid, because that is illogical. That doesn't make any sense. And that's not true. But I mean, I could understand if they were being childish, like, well, that's not fair, and I'm not playing with you today. Like, okay, that's pretty childish, but that's just stupidity. Because I started thinking about that. Like, how many people do you see, like, it's like that woman who sued McDonald's and won millions of dollars because her coffee was hot. Look,
have you ever read the whole story around that, though? So the lady was like 70, 80, 90. She was an old lady. And it's been a long time since I've read it. But basically, she had gone in originally, and she got third-degree burns, or first-degree, whatever the worst-degree burns were. But it was all in her crotch and everything else. And all she was requesting originally was just for her medical bill covered, because it was like way beyond the normal level of hot, because hot, even with coffee, won't give you first degree burns or whatever it was. And so when she got that, her thing, it was like they came back and was like, no, we're not going to do it, or blah, blah, blah. So that's when it came back with the other case of like, hey, she actually tried, but it came back as, oh, this lady bitched, because for the longest years and years and years, I was always like, yeah, some lady bitched about her coffee being too hot. And then when I heard that or read more of it, I was like, oh, I'd never heard that. Because, like most of them, I was the person always who would read the headline and go, man, that's fucked up, but never spend the time to, read down it or investigate it or look more into it. But then this article or something came across, and then I actually read it. Because later in life now, I found that headlines don't mean anything. And I've learned a lot of stuff in headlines is actually incorrect from most of the data that's actually in the stuff. And so I like to look more into them. You have to check and see, but I swear that's what it was it was like a way more in-depth thing than just...
Oh, I guarantee that.
And it kind of surprised me, because I was like, oh, hey.
So Layback versus McDonald's in 94... said they awarded her $2.86 million. So that is reasonable for a lawsuit. Nowadays, it's hundreds of millions of dollars for, like, my daughter was told no for something. But then again, dude, that's the thing that it's taken out of context. Exactly what you're saying. You hear this, don't realize the context behind it. But then the other thing is all these other subsequent lawsuits after that one, because it tells people that you can win money. So it's exactly that.
Well, it's because everyone's so happy, because everyone, and I think about this,
everybody's very litigious.
Everyone wants to make quick money, whether it's the lottery, whether it's, like whatever it is. Everyone wants money fast, easy, now. Hey, could I get something that I didn't work for? Because we all have dreams and aspirations. And it's like, even my girlfriend's dad, I feel like he's a pretty level-headed, logical person most of the time. He works really hard. He's set aside good retirement, stuff like that. And he was still getting caught up in the idea of like, oh, we bought lottery tickets, and, we were thinking, oh, if we win, we can buy this and this and this and this. And it's like, how many people dream like that? Like, I think it's pretty human, but it's that want, that excitement, that for it, that we're always trying to do that it's, the sue of like, oh, well, and some people are extremely desperate or selfish or don't care about anything else, that it's like, well, could I lie about something and get money? Could I just do this and get money? Because like, ooh, what could I do? And McDonald's doesn't need it. They're $1 billion corporation. Like they'll be just fine, or whatever it is. And going, well, but how much money do I have? And look how big they are. They've got more money. They're totally fine. They can afford this. And not realizing, well, but yes, McDonald's probably has enough money for that. But how many other companies? How many other companies have like our mom and pop shops or startups? And it's like, well, they're taking care of 30 families, and this multi-million-dollar lawsuit now took away part of their capability to help support those 30 families. So then this one person, I imagine, my mind right now pictures Bennett when he had all those families, and he was stressing about like, oh shit, what happens if I have to let all these people go? What happens if I can't take, like, where they're comfortable and I was responsible taking care of them, now I can't, and they have to try and figure something else out.
Yeah.
Like, what does that do to it? And like, versus the selfishness of like, well, I need or deserve this because, well, they've got more money than me and I need money.
Well, that's what happens, man. I mean, you look at the story of Ray Kroc. Like, at first, it was this really cool idea, and he thought it'd be great to give it to the U.S. and the world. And what ended up happening, he fucked over the McDonald brothers, gave them a small check that they never cashed. It was like $1 million or so. But the company was worth $1 million because he turned it into a real estate empire, and that's how he was able to take it away from them.
Oh, damn.
He took it right out underneath him, and these guys didn't want that. What they wanted to do was keep and maintain the integrity of it. And he's like, well, you can't mass scale.
Yeah, you can't do this and that at the same time.
And the way it worked, like he would tell people, like, you're going to do it my way. And he was smart about it. He was very smart about it. However, because of greed, like even his first wife left him, and he made sure that she couldn't get anything. No, you were married to me before McDonald's. So you're not entitled to any. Totally fucked her. I think he left her a house, gave her the house that she was living in, and that's it. And then he was nice to this one woman that he met that bought franchises, her and her husband, and she left her husband for him.
Of course, yeah.
And it just went on and on and on like that. Like, it just... You realize at the heart of every giant company comes a real greedy, sadistic, sick fucker. Mark Zuckerberg is not the sweetest, weird dude. Like, he's not. Neither is Bill Gates, neither was Steve Jobs, neither is Elon Musk. Like, they all cut parts of humanity out. They don't give up things, they cut parts of humanity out of them in order to survive that. Because they are obsessed with innovation at first, and then it becomes money. And now I trust Elon a lot more because he doesn't care about any of his money. And so it's like, okay, well, he's truly shown it. But when he was younger, it was all about money. How many wives is he? He's got like 15 kids.
Yeah. My favorite thing about it was the mention of when they brought the Tesla Roadster on Top Gear. Tesla's very first car that they put out. And they drove it and they shit all over it because, well, it was a piece of shit. And Elon, was the little baby, came out and was like, oh no, you'll never have my cars again. Don't talk, and like tried to threaten him with a lawsuit. And they basically gave him the middle finger. And it was funny because he's like, oh, you're never going to talk about my... They're like, we don't test an electric car.
Yeah, I remember that because like even at that time, like when he sold PayPal, the first thing he bought, he had it shipped to his home, like I think it was in New York, was a McLaren.
Probably.
And he was so excited. And it was like a one-seater McLaren. You remember those?
No, that's weird.
Yeah, it's really crazy. But
I mean, when you think about it though, if you have that much money, if you sell a tech company, how many kids growing up wanted all of these nice cars? I had Hot Wheels. Grandma and Grandpa bought me like the model cars and stuff. I had Ferraris. I had classic cars. I loved those. I loved cars since I was little. And if I had sold a company and made insane amounts of money as a young egotistical like fuck, 100% I would have gone, man, I want a Lambo. I want a Ferrari.
Yeah.
I want this thing. Yeah, let's get that here. Because it would have just been like, this is my dream that I've always wanted. And I never really put a lot of thought into it. Now, I have no desire to own one of those. It seems like a waste of money, a waste of space. I don't really have a place in that to drive it. To effectively use that, it seems like a waste.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time,
I could rent one, and it would be fun as hell to go to a track and drive one day. But, that's me now. And I've looked at it and I'm like, well, I feel like I've also grown a lot as a person in the last 20 years. And
I think you can get to something like that, and then when you go without, it's good. But it's the one thing. It's also like it's a cautionary tale, because it's like, hey, remember that this cycle can happen again. So don't overdo it. And if you're starting to succeed, because it takes time, right?
Always.
That's what I love about all of these SaaS companies failing right now. I know if you are employed one, I am sorry. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with how the business was structured. And the more these
Yeah.
companies are going under, it's good because it's showing that people don't spend frivolously when you take it away. So it's like, okay, what do I truly want? Like, I am like, oh man, I probably go out to eat 4 times a year on my own to buy it.
Yeah.
Maybe. And it's small. Not because I don't enjoy it. It's because it's wasteful.
It is when you pay $10 to $30 per person for a normal meal versus being able to make a meal for a family for
which is a dying art too. A lot of people, even though there's all these fucking cooking shows, not everybody's like us.
Yeah, no one cooks. It's interesting. I'm like, I don't know, or even like the cooking they do. You know, I look and I'm like, Alec does cooking at home sometimes and stuff, but it's most of it I feel like is like, hey, this comes from the freezer. Or it's like not a lot of really
Tons of preservatives and shit.
not like, oh, here's some chicken nuggets, here's some this, here's some chicken patties we'll make sandwiches with. Like, not a lot of cooking, but a lot of just like, here, let's heat up this thing that's, you know, and I'm like, that's fine. My sister cooks. She does quite a bit of cooking, but also she does, I think, a lot of pre-done stuff from Costco or other places that's just already made because she is a nurse and does other jobs on the side too. Like, she just has too much time on her hands.
She's got a lot of your dad in her.
Yeah.
Alec does too.
We talked about that yesterday when I was helping my dad because he was like, oh yeah, I have a gay cousin. He's married now. And, my dad was saying, oh, he was talking to him and asking about his childhood and that was saying that his dad was always nice, but always working. And his mom was very controlling and, you know, this, and had to be a certain way and all this stuff. And I was like, okay. And he's like, yeah, now his dad's realizing and regretting that and trying to build a relationship, but his kids are 35, 40, you know, and
that's a Harry Chapin song right there.
Yeah. So trying to figure shit out at that point, but just, you know, I'm like, well, that's because you and your brother grew up in the same home and both of you guys had trauma because, well, your dad. And what do elders do? Well, when we're stressed, we work. When we're bored, we work. When we're, you know, angry, we work. When we have this, we work. So what do? We work. So that's why Bob has the most, like, he created the largest engineering firm here in Utah. He designs every temple one. He's designing all the electric cities. Like, he's an incredible man, really fucking smart. But that's what we do, is we work. And I look at Jackie, I look at Alec. It's like the things that it's like, oh, we've got time. What are we doing? Oh, well, I'm going to go work on something. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do this because that's what we do.
No, and I mean, you know, in like a community, that's awesome. Like, you know, if shit went to, that's why I love about Utah. I mean, you can say what you want about the people, but, you know, in crazy times, they know how to gather together and get shit done pretty quickly. But at the same time, you want people like that in your society that are hard workers and want to do that. But they also need to be taught that, hey, you need to learn how to deal with your emotions. You don't have to stop working, but you also need to address what you're doing instead of just being angry all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just a lot of times what I've learned is that these people feel misunderstood.
Well, I'm surprised. See, it's more over time. He's definitely not as angry now.
No, they slow down and get amnesia when they get older.
Yeah, definitely. There's moments of things that I'm like talking to my dad and I'm like, this was really hard. And he's like, oh, I don't remember that. I'm like, yeah. He's like, that didn't happen. I'm like, Dad, I will text all of our siblings right now. Every single one will confirm this.
Yep.
I said 100%. I'm sorry you don't remember it, or maybe I'm happy for you that you don't, but like, it still happened, you know. And it's just, I mean, at the same time as we get older, maybe we don't remember every single memory, you know. And there's things that we don't remember, and someone else is like, oh, do you remember this? Oh shit, I forgot, you know.
No.
And I don't know. I've never been 60 yet, so I have no idea. Or
it's bullshit.
Have his brain damage that he has.
No, there's no brain damage. It's just, it's perception, right?
Oh, no, his has, like, half his brain has no electrical current through it. He's had brain scans and that. Yeah, he has, like, half a working brain.
What happened?
Brain damage from accidents, from all stuff, from probably abuse from his dad and that.
That explains a lot.
Like, yeah, so...
That explains a lot.
They've said that he has... like all sorts of stuff.
TBI and all that other fun stuff.
That's what's crazy to me was like he's had this brain damage for years, and then the entire home he just built, he did that with brain damage.
I mean,
all
it's
this
not
other
going to
stuff.
take his like faculties from him, but he's definitely like stunted in other areas because he's not able to pick up on certain things, or maybe long-term memory could be an issue, just not being able to see it yet.
I have no idea.
And because he's repeated construction things so many times over and over and over, his body and his brain just know what to do when they see these things. So it just
I'm
goes on
really
autopilot.
impressed because a lot of it, like his calculations and stuff, he's really good, and he does it in his head still, and like so there's a lot of things that I'm just
He has that gift.
I'm like, okay, this is like he seems all there in some aspects, but then other things I'm like, maybe, but
Well, yeah, my dad turned 72 this year, and
Damn.
my brother and I, we had lunch for my birthday, and my dad came with us, and he's like, yeah, I have to tell my daughters, like, that sweet old man over there was not so sweet when he was younger. And he thinks he fucking forgot all of that shit, but I didn't. And I was like, oh yeah. And he goes, do you remember that time when dad was on top of you fucking punching you? And dude, it came to me. I totally repressed it, but I relived it. I remember why. And my brother jumped on him and socked him in the side of the head. And it took my dad's attention away. What are you doing? And got mad. I'm like, don't you touch him. And my brother always was like, why didn't you beat him up? Because you knew how to from way younger. And I was like, I just couldn't. Not until, it was like 18 when we finally went to blows, and it didn't go very well for him. Then after that, it was like, we're done. And no more arguments. But it was this perception that I had to have that my father is right because he's an adult, and because I'm only getting this because I deserved it because I didn't listen or I did something. Like when I was a kid throwing rocks across the street. Yeah, it was a dumb thing to do, but we're kids. Like I was literally 7 and we're throwing rocks across the street to each other's yard. It's not a busy road. Over by Timpanogos Elementary. You know that road that goes alongside it? And if you go down it, you can go to the park.
No idea.
We go around, you would know where it's at. But anyways, I throw this rock because we're trying to get the biggest rock onto each other's lawn. This kid named Corey Malachi. And he threw one, I threw one. I got a bigger one to try to throw it over. It doesn't even make it halfway across the road. Skips on the ground just as this old VW Bug's going by. And it pops up, hits his muffler. Muffler comes detached, slides on the ground. And Corey runs into his house, and I ran to the backyard and hid between the shed and this chain link fence. And I was just like sandwiched in. I'm like, nobody will hear me. Then I start hearing my dad yell my full name, and then he starts yelling and swearing in Spanish. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm not moving. Then all of a sudden, grabbed me by my hair, pulled me out, brought me to the man. He says, did you do this? And the guy's holding his muffler. And I said, yes. And my dad threw me to the ground. And the guy's just like, you know what? Let it go. I can fix this, but whatever's coming to you, I wouldn't want to be you. And that was what was said. And I got my ass beat, but it wasn't that I learned a lesson of don't throw rocks across the road. What I learned is get out of there as fast as you can. Don't get caught. And don't tell your parents. So I was taught at a young age not to tell them anything.
Yeah, because you didn't. I talked with this to my dad yesterday, and I was like, it's, a lot of people or kids don't come and talk to their parents because they don't feel safe. Because their parents are not a safe spot. We think we are. But it's the reactions, the things they say. Oh, well, we reacted and got pissed off. Well, we grounded them for that. Well, they were just trying to be honest and go, this is the experience I'm experiencing as a child. This is what happened. You're supposed to be my safe spot. Well, when your safe spot that loves you and the love they give is violence and abuse and that, well, what is love to you? Violence and abuse.
Yeah.
And it's not falling in line. Well, I'm going to get hit because that's what love is.
Yeah, and
That doesn't teach or pass down. And I was talking to my dad, I'm like, it just creates generational trauma. And then you have a trauma that's passed down, and if you're not addressing it, then you're passing it down.
Yeah, but it's almost unavoidable. You're going to get...
It is,
no one's going to get out unscathed.
But I was like, most people probably have that. But how many people don't actually try and work on that or even know that they have that as well?
Well, and it's hard too. I mean, especially, the one term I really can't stand now more than ever is narcissism, because a lot of people say, well, they're just being narcissist. Or you mean selfish right now. If they were narcissists, they would have a wake of destruction behind them. Like truly.
Every human has a narcissistic trait or traits of some sort, or like tendencies maybe, that it's like, that was a little narcissistic, but it's not they as a person are a narcissist.
Yeah, but it's even then though now that term's been thrown around. I'd rather just call it the simple fact, you're being a selfish fuck. Can you stop? But it just, people have learned to put it off, like debt or anything else. I'll just store it away. And it doesn't come out until much later. And I think there's a lot of suicide because of no one teaching others that you can talk about these things. I think we're seeing a lot of marriage breakup because you're not supposed to work on it. It either works or it doesn't. And
I think marriage is a weird thing because so many people go into it with either like, this is the person I want you to become, or I never want you to change. And both of those never happen. Someone changes, one way or the other. Someone changes, or both of you change.
Well, you grow. You mean you don't stop growing just because you become an adult.
Yeah, so it's like, it's been months, but Emily had sent me TikToks forever ago, and there's this couple on there, and I really liked what they did, because they're like, we're in a relationship, and we've been here for years, and we love each other, we're married, we're whatever, but we don't just expect that things will change, or we just are here together. Said we actually sit down together every 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is. And they go over their relationship, goals they have, things that they actually expect or want to look for in a relationship, if it's fitting it, if there's things that changed. And they just check in and go, hey, where are you as a partner? What things are you looking like? Is there things that changed? And I'm like, reevaluating. Are we good in our relationship? Are we needing to work on something? Like, do we feel like we want to be together? And it's like, we don't have to stick together, because they understand people can change and things like that. Instead of holding this accountability over their relationship, they're holding this like, hey, we're just checking in, readapting, going, is this still good? Are you good? I'm good. Like, and checking in, going, but I don't think a lot of relationships do that. It goes through this thing, and then something happens at some point, resentment builds, and then things change, and then it builds a wedge, and then things break, but they're not usually in a healthy, good break. It's like animosity and pain and hurt and anger and all this stuff, and like vengeance and like malicious stuff comes in at that point, versus like, hey, I notice I love who you are. I love that you're changing and growing, but I'm changing and growing this way. And I notice that we might be becoming slightly different people. And sometimes maybe that's not every relationship, but
no, not at all.
But that, maybe there's a healthy way to navigate that versus, we get in a relationship and it's like, well, we're just here now because we are. So we're just going to be here forever without ever looking at our relationship and going, hey, is there something more you need or something different? Or like, is there, we've just been doing the same routines and habits because we've been in this for 10 years, 5 years, 3 years, 6 months, whatever it is, that you're not actually checking in with all these normal things that maybe we would, could, should do to, and that might help navigate better relationships or marriages or, and less divorce or healthier divorces.
Well, and it's something to be said about it, because a lot of the issues too that I see currently, not necessarily it's always been, but the hookup culture has gotten even crazier now, where you got apps and now they've monetized sex to the highest degree beyond porn now, where porn was just a select few of people who fucked around in LA and maybe a couple other places. Now it's like your bedroom and you get a dildo and a bunch of lube and ching, 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 ching. And you're just like, okay, I do things because you pay me money. Like, and they try to justify going, well, it's safer. And they're like, yeah, but you don't realize what you're doing to yourself. It's, I don't shame anybody if they sleep around a lot, but if you sleep around purely for the fact, like, did you hear about this woman in Australia?
Probably not.
Where her goal was, to sleep with 100 18-year-olds in a short
Gross.
period of time.
Honestly, I think...
I think she did a gangbang or something like that.
Gross. I think in any aspect, I'm not a fan of the gangbang, but that's just my personal perspective.
No,
Everyone, don't yuck someone's yums, but for me, that's not my yum.
But that's the thing, like you're seeing that, and then they're pissed off because they're like, well, I'm not getting my $200,000 a year driving a really cool car and pays for all my shit guy, which counts for 0.0002% of the population. So it's very unlikely.
I think it's just because everyone now has this platform where we can
We've
talk.
had this platform for a while.
No. I mean, TikTok, Instagram, everything is a video now that it's like so visible. So this, like, oh, this is this, that we're all so vocal in public with all of our bitching, our moaning, our this and that those types of people can go, oh, I'm not happy that this isn't what I'm getting. Well, that's fine because you want this and maybe that doesn't want you. And that's okay. You can sit and bitch and moan and complain all you want, but at the end of the day, that doesn't actually attract those types of people to you. All it does is show people who you are, and then they go, what about that is attractive? Why would I want to be with you?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but that's the same with anything. It's like you get these people and they're like, oh, girls this, girls this. Well, dude, you're coming off as an arrogant asshole fuck. Of course a girl's not going to want to be with you. It's the same as the women doing the other. Mm-hmm. There's both sides, and people look at it and go, you're a garbage human. I don't think it matters. No one wants to be with you.
No, and it's really difficult. I mean, just from the outside looking in, like, has my marriage been perfect? No marriage has ever been perfect, but the thing is that we've had disagreements, and I don't look at perfection because I'm completely content. I have no desire to go with anybody else not because I'm bored or we have a lot of hardships. We've had a lot of hardships, and it still never broke us. But for us, we broke the cycle because we saw her dysfunctional parents, my dysfunctional parents, saying, I really don't want to repeat that. That's why I waited so long to get married. And because I'd met a lot of women that I wanted to marry. And it's not like, I want to give it up to the government institution over there. It's a sign that I want to be with them. Because a lot of times when I see people who've been together for a while and they're like, yeah, we're going to be together. And then they just separate and they've been together for like 10, 15 years.
That's like a marriage.
It's exactly a marriage. And they're like, well, and then the law is like, yeah, you got to split everything. And then they have kids together. And then all of a sudden they act all confused, like, whoa, who gets them?
But at that point, you should know, because if you live in any state, like, I don't know the amount of people, I'm sure they exist, but I don't know how many people truly have never heard of common law marriage in any state.
Oh, yeah.
So at that point, it doesn't matter at some point if I live with this person, there is a date, an expiration date of, hey, now you are legally married according to the law.
Yeah, I know, like, right?
If you don't, pick up a book, stop looking at YouTube,
maybe
figure
Google
something else out aside from video game, movie, TV show, something. Like, go learn.
And there's nothing bad about that, but at the same time,
never learning. I
didn't say that. I didn't say that. You took it out of context. I'm saying, like, it's not bad to be able to go and look at entertainment and all these things.
No,
but
I said
when
to never.
Comes into the obsessive compulsive, and dude, the lockdown had a ton to do with that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's all you did.
COVID fucked everyone.
Yeah, it totally did. Like, psychologically, it really messed with a lot of people. But going back to what I was going to originally say is that when you have both sides that are one extreme or the other, right? You got incels, right? Where they're just like, yeah, I'm just going to admit I'm this person, right? And they're buying plastic fuck dolls. And they are the biggest subscribers to OnlyFans. And then you got a bunch of women who are doing almost the exact same thing, going, well, we're swearing off men. We're not doing any of that. I don't need men to be alive. And it's just like, oh my gosh, you guys are ridiculous. And then you get some like argument going, do you know that the infrastructure is made out of men? So what? What they're saying is socially, I don't need men to survive.
Yeah.
But why is there this big divide? It's haves and haves not.
It's everywhere.
It's so bad.
It's the divide. We talk about it all the time. It's in everything. It's the us and the them. It's in genders. It's in religions. It's in races. It's in, economical classes. It's in like all of these things. Even schools. Like it's in everywhere. It's like, oh, you're not this. We're this, and it's like tribalism.
Well, it's polar differences. You one cannot exist without the other. It feels like that. Like the entire planet can't be at peace, but it can also be at war.
Why do you think we're so always, maybe not every person, but like as a whole, more humans? Why do you think we're more drawn to finding the differences than the similarities?
Because it's unique. Because if everything looks the same, then you don't think of it. But when it's unique at first, it's exciting. As a child, everything's exciting.
Yeah, but as we get older, though, like
we still have that same thought
when
process.
we're with people and that, a lot of like all this us and them is not finding the similarities. It's the differences. Like,
no, it's finding the differences, but it's in a different way because you learn that from older people who say, don't do this. They preemptively trigger you to be able to understand that their view is the view that you need to see.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the right way, but their view is the best view that you can get.
Well, wouldn't that be kind of the same?
For an example, I was listening to a book, behavioral science book, but one of them was talking about if you introduce somebody saying, oh, I want you to meet Brandon. By the way, Brandon's a little handsy and he farts a lot. Just letting you know. So the whole time that person's going to be there, and if it was a woman, they'd be getting away from you the whole time and then wondering when you're going to drop a fart. Right? I mean, that's like a really dumb thing. But if I said, hey, he's a real sleazeball and he fucks everything with a heartbeat optional. Hey, Brandon, meet Cindy. And she's like, cool, this guy is a pig. All he wants to do is fuck me. And she's just angry. And that's an assumptive role that we all play. When I used to go to the bars with friends, all the girls were just guards up. Guys were like, I want to fuck you. Girls are like, you're not fucking me at all. And you're just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Why did we even show up? Like, we're trying to meet each other, yet there's walls up. And it's because we pre-frame everything. We pre-frame it instead of looking at it in an open way, going, well, they look like a nice person.
It's because there's always an intention behind it. It's never just, I'm curious who this person is. I want to get to know this person. It's like, yeah, I want to stick my dick in that. I want this out of this.
Their skin color's this. Oh, they came out of that church. They're going to be like this.
I want this out of it for me.
Well,
I want to make a connection because they might be an interesting person, and
exactly.
I might learn something new today that I didn't know.
Well, and that's interesting. I mean, for me, I'm just like, I know somebody else, and that's great because I love making connections with people because it's great. It's good. I mean, it feels good to go somewhere and somebody just knows you right away, and they want to talk to you because they find you interesting. Like that's cool for me, and that's the way I look at life now. I don't look for differences. I've been colorblind for many years. I don't care. And the funniest thing is that people who get really upset with me about that are the people who are upset that people aren't respectful about their religion, their color, the people they hang out with.
The ones who get frustrated, and that's not the word, the people who get offended.
Yeah.
Because most people who get offended is like, oh, you did whatever. I'm going to choose to let that. I'm going to choose my emotion to be changed because of whatever your action was. Yeah,
there's something to be said about the art of forgiveness because it really is an art because you can say you forgive them, but you got to let it go. And if you let it go...
harder said than done.
It can be. It really can be. But, in extremes, it's really hard. In
That's
minors...
What I mean. True forgiveness. Like, all the easy stuff, it's easy. Because it's like, fuck it. It's like... it just rolls off your back. And you're like, that's totally fine. It's not the end of the world.
I hold no animosity towards any person, even if they've wronged me. Because, like, I've had business partners screw me. And unintentionally, but still did it. And I would never be like, oh, I will never talk to them again. Like, I've done that kind of petty shit when I was younger. Like, my friend he was just a magnet for cops. And I got my two only possession and consumption charges because I was with that fuckhead.
Wow.
And I didn't even drink anything. But because I was near him,
that's crazy.
I got a possession and a consumption charge. And I was like, great. This is fucking great.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not talking to that motherfucker and I didn't talk to him for years.
Yeah.
And that was stupid of me because it was just an incident.
Well, sometimes. I mean, there was a friend that I cut out for a couple of years. And that was because he didn't respect me. He didn't listen. He actually walked all over me. And that was something that I was like, I'm sorry. I've tried to talk to you and you can't do this. And I'm done. And sometimes I think that it is okay and healthy to set those boundaries or walk away. whether it's from a friend, a partner, a parent, a sibling, whoever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
Because honestly, yeah, there's a difference between being a selfish fuck and prioritizing yourself, going, this isn't healthy for me.
Yeah, and it's a good thing I found that book, because now Brandon talks to me again.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I agree with you, man. And it's a societal thing, right? I think about right now where, my role as a person to be a good member of society is to just be generally good to people across the board, no matter who they are. And if you start doing that and you can trigger that in other people, and then everybody else starts following, I'm not saying I'm going to start this happy trend of everybody's like, paying it forward or anything like that, but it's just, what does it cost to be nice?
What's even the stupid small stuff? Like, I have neighbors across the street who are, I'd say it's like a disabled home of sorts. Like they're, I don't know the correct term, mentally checked or something.
Yeah, no, it's, yeah, no, it's like a halfway, they call them halfway homes.
But there's a bunch of adults who live in there, and they
special needs and stuff like that.
But they're ones that, like, Emily at the first was like, oh my goodness, they seem so weird, so like, and she was all weirded out and that. And then I've just started saying hi to them, waving to them, and so now every morning after I drop off Addie and I hop out of my car and they're sitting out on the sidewalk smoking cigarettes, I say hi. They always wave back and say hi. Every time they come out, they wave and say hi. And I'm like, it's just these simple, stupid things. Like, how many people don't even say hi to their neighbors?
I'm blessed because I worked at the state hospital for as long as I did. I don't see crazy people. I see someone who's suffering from schizophrenia or someone who's manic depressant or...
I was like, it's just another human who functions different than I do.
Yeah, nobody treats me... I mean, the way that we treat people when they have a cold? That's understandable. Because you're going to get... You could get sick too.
Yeah.
But if somebody's talking to themselves, you're not going to get it.
Yeah, it's not contagious. You're not going to go, oh, shit.
Like I told you about my friend
or like a homeless person. You're not going to get homeless by talking to a homeless person.
No. And it sucks because, a homeless person makes you feel... It's reflective. That's why we don't want to look at them, because we don't ever want to see ourselves that way. And so we avoid them because of that. And it's not that we don't want to help them. It's just, what can you do to help them? Like, truly, if we could do to help them, it'd be like, just have this random business that just provides jobs.
Yeah. And they get jobs and a place to stay as they get back on their feet till they can go out and get another job or another place.
How many rich fucks out there could take a tiny chunk of their company and create those things around because what does that do? You're building new consumers. If you build new consumers, they're going to buy your new shit because they make enough money to buy your useless shit. So why not invest into No, I'm going to build a massive fucking yacht that when I get it taken out of the place that was built, they're going to have to remove a bridge.
Yeah, just to move it.
To get it out. And I can't even dock at regular places. And I have a mini yacht that follows me.
Just to get there. Or for your whole crew. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's this notion that I need all of this. And there's more than enough to go around. And I mean, I don't want to get on my, hippie sandbox about that, but I mean, hippie milk.
You're good.
Yeah.
Crate.
Milk crate. Yeah. I'm going to get off my crate. But it's just looking at it like, what's the simple things? What does it cost for me to be nice?
Yeah.
Nothing. And if I do that, like, simple things like gestures and mannerisms, like stuff I teach, that's what I love about that, where I'm talking to those kids, like I told you, and they are just like, how do I do that? And to me, I used to think that's stupid. But I'm just like, no, you don't understand. I totally it's a new language for them, which comes so easily to a lot of other people. Or at least I think that. Like Gen Xers, millennials, they're pretty decent because they've already lived a bunch of shit. And now they're just like, yeah. I mean, I'm stereotypical 46-year-old guy now. Yeah, I'm typical 46 now.
I have no idea what other 37-year-olds are like. Maybe I'm just like them.
But I'm saying, like, things I get into, things I talk about, things I complain about, and I used to complain about. And the only thing is, I look at politics, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder where they found that. Or, oh, okay, why are they trying to pass that bill?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. And I start learning about it. But when I was younger, I could care less. I could care less. But anyways.
Hey, guys.
This has been a fun conversation.
It has. Go check out Cannabis School Approved.
Yeah, go to cannabisschool.us. Check out the website. We're going to be adding more to it as time goes on. We're getting some things tweaked over there. We're going to bring more dispensaries on. If you're a dispenser and you haven't reached out to us yet, go ahead down below. Just email us and saying, I want in.
Yeah, and tune in next week.
Until that time, take care.